North Carolina's Attorney General is suing a wedding photographer after he says the owners of the company misled and defrauded brides.
Now, this isn't the first time Holly Christina Photography has been in news headlines either. WECT's J.C. Caldwell learning more of the details today. J.C., before Jeff Jackson made this announcement, dozens of brides were complaining.
Yeah, that's right, Fran. Last month, 50 North Carolina brides spoke out about thousands of dollars they lost after claiming they paid Christina Askew and Christopher Askew, often upfront and in full, for wedding photo services they never got. Just since January, the Department of Justice has received 166 complaints from customers alleging about $750,000 in total financial loss. What you're looking at is the over 20-page complaint from Jackson seeking a preliminary injunction, a permanent injunction, restitution for the victims, and civil penalties. Customers say they paid the photographers anywhere from $1,500 to up to $5,000 without their services being delivered.
In people's weddings, one of the most important days of their lives, their photos, some of the most treasured possessions that they have, and this company took money for a service it didn't provide. This was huge deception. And from that number of victims, you can tell this was not an accident. This was a pattern and practice. That's why I think we have a very strong case.
In response to brides' initial complaints, Holly Christina Photography released a statement on Facebook saying Holly, who ran the business, had been hospitalized twice and had been navigating a serious and unexpected emergency. According to the company's website now, they've shut down, citing unforeseen circumstances. J.C. Caldwell, WECT News.